Hello and welcome to The Lucky Roll, an eclectic channel for eclectic games. I'm Sean.
I'm Tony.
And today we're going to do a versus comparison between Dune, the board game,
and Cosmic Encounter.
Now, this is an interesting comparison to make because both board games have the same designers, Bill Erbel, Jack Kitteridge, and Peter Olaka. Cosmic Encounter was designed and created initially in
1977.
And Dune was 2 years later in 1979. Now, for those of you who have never seen either of these games before, Dune is based on a sci-fi novel, which is colloquially known as the Lord of the Rings version of sci-fi, or not version, but equivalent. It's by Frank Herbert, and it's about houses trying to control this planet Arrakis, which has this resource called spice. So in this game, you're trying to both harvest the spice and control certain amounts of territory. Mm-hmm. So if you're in a single-player game, you win the game by controlling 3 strongholds. If you're in an alliance, you win the game by controlling 4 strongholds. And it's a game for 2 to 6 players.
Well, Cosmic Encounter is a game for 3 to 5 crazy aliens who have all sorts of different powers and abilities. And basically, their goal is to take over the galaxy and have 5 different planets or colonies. And the first to 5 is the winner. It's very simple.
So, introductions aside, we'll pretend that we've never seen it before. So the first question I'm going to ask is, you see the two side by side in the shop shelf. You know nothing about either. What's your eye drawn to? What are you going to buy based on just pure look?
Even if I didn't know either franchise or anything, I'd be immediately drawn to the Dune cover art. To be honest with you, it looks really nice. I really like the artwork.
Yeah, I'm the same actually. I think the artwork is beautiful because it reminds me of a kind of a comic book style. Yeah, I'd be a big fan of 2000 AD Judge Dredd, and this type of retro comic style is very apparent. It's actually a beautiful looking cover. Even the writing, Dune with the planet in the middle, it looks class.
Really
it looks
good,
epic.
Really good design. Yeah.
I mean, plus if you look at the picture, it's a big worm thing, and a guy with a pointy stick, is going to stab the big worm. So I mean, it doesn't actually tell you what's in the game, though. You know, if you're looking at the cover and you're thinking Dune, you think it's something like Tremors, the movie, or something. You're battling big worms, but you're not actually. It's an area control game.
Yeah, basically.
So it's a nice, beautiful action thing, but it's doesn't tell you what exactly is in the game, though.
Yeah, well, the cover art of Cosmic Encounter also has a crazy worm thing on it, multiple actually. And yeah, the artwork is bizarre, to say the least. All of the aliens, there's 50 aliens in the game, and they all have vastly different artwork, and they all look amazing and disgusting. And
it's like he's pretty horrible looking. Like, I mean,
you'd think it would be a horror game when you look at it. But
well, that's it. Like, it's like a snail with eyes or something, you know?
Yeah, the poor alien, the poor pacifist is getting mind control or something, but there's a certain charm to the artwork, and I like it as well.
That's 2 aliens, is it?
This is the pacifist, which is an alien.
Okay.
And I believe this is the parasite.
So the snail's the parasite.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So
for the pacifist.
Okay, well, so based on the 2 covers, I mean, the artwork in both is actually quite nice, but which do you think is more kid friendly?
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely more PG rating, I guess.
Yeah, because that thing, it's fantastic art cover, but it looks hideous.
Yeah, I know. There've been multiple different covers on the game. One was a very plain, uninteresting cover. This is really interesting, actually. And then the party's second anniversary one has a different alien on the front. But it's minor differences.
Yeah, fair enough. And I suppose he's one of the more popular aliens, is he? The
parasite? Nobody likes the parasite, no.
Oh, so they put it on the cover. Okay, yeah, exactly. Fair enough.
Okay, so we've seen what the covers are like. Let's talk about what's on the inside, though.
Yeah, well, the components, yeah, absolutely.
Components.
Um, well, one big difference between the two of them, anyway, is this has a board, and that doesn't.
Yes. Yeah, Cosmic Encounter doesn't have a real center board that all the pieces get played on. It's more you have cardboard. You have your planets,
Yeah,
and then you have your plastic ships, which are really nice. Actually, they're really satisfying to stack up because they stack nicely, and you can move them around like poker chips.
yeah, and actually, because it's funny you mentioned poker chips, because Cosmic Encounter, like, there's a bluffing element to the game as
Yeah.
well. So I used to love kind of picking and dropping the spaceships like poker
Stack
chips.
them like poker chips. It's really cool. So there's the ships. There's the warp in the center, which
Yeah.
is like a centerpiece of the game. It looks really cool. And then there's the hyperspace gate where you throw your attacking ships on and you point at the attacking planet. And that's basically the components of the game. It's very sparse on
Yeah.
the table, but if you have a nice mat, it looks brilliant.
Well, absolutely. Like it is, it's a bit minimalist, but you know, it also reflects the simplicity of the game.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's funny you mentioned the space map, because there's a lot of games these days, like Fallout Wasteland Warfare came with two kind of sheets
Okay.
of Wasteland. You know, if they do it again, why not just put in a space sheet? A small thing, but it would make
Special
it
edition. That would be awesome.
like, even just if it's just a poster, because a lot of games do that. It's just a small thing, but
Yeah.
otherwise, I think I agree. The components in that are very nice.
Yeah.
The components in Dune are, well, they're very nice as well. The board is stunning. I actually love the layout of the planet Arrakis. The artwork is very interesting as well, because Dune was out of print for years, and so people could avail of a print and play version. And Gale Force 9 commissioned one of the artists of one of the more popular print and play versions, Baranski, I think.
Ilya
And
Bronsky.
his artwork is beautiful, because it's very reminiscent of the era. It's a modern take, but also reminiscent of the era. So it looks like a modern version of a 1970s game in terms of the style. But I'm digressing. The components obviously are adorned very well. There's lots of pretty imagery everywhere. The board is nice,
Yeah.
but it's all cardboard. Everything's cardboard. Like you move troops in this, and the troops are small little cardboard chits.
Yeah,
And you've got 20 of them, and that's your entire army. And chits, being nice and small, are easily to lose. And
They are really tiny.
yeah, and if you're not careful, or even if someone spills a drink over your game, you know, you could easily ruin half your chits. And now I know it's cost effective. I mean,
No, it makes the game more affordable, which is a big deal, really. And that's good.
it looks lovely, but
Yeah.
the little chits of the troops are my only complaint. Now, they're necessary because, like the planet Arrakis, there's some smaller spaces of area control.
Very small locations on the board, really. Yeah. So you really have to have stacks of small chits to be able to fit your men on there. You wouldn't be able to use miniatures, for instance.
Well, that's it. Like, I mean, it nearly takes me more time to pack the game away, because I'm banal and that I need to count all the pieces to make sure I still have them, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from the kind of little troop chits, that's the only complaint I would have about the components here.
Yeah, the board looks fantastic. All the artwork looks fantastic. It's really well designed.
No, oh no, it is. And it's actually, like I said, the choice to put it in cardboard made it affordable, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind if Guild Force 9 sent off some spares, maybe in the future expansion or something.
Oh, yeah. In case you lose any. Who knows?
So the next question I think we should ask is theme. Obviously, both are sci-fi. One is spacey and one is kind of planet spacey. So I suppose we'll start with Cosmic Encounter. Do you think it captures the spacey theme?
Yeah, well, the theme for Cosmic Encounter is crazy aliens taking over the galaxy, and I don't think you could have any other theme for this game. It fits it perfectly. Like, with all of the vastly different powers and abilities, and I really don't think... Like, I think sci-fi aliens is the perfect theme for this game, and it fits it amazingly.
Yeah, I would agree because it allows the imagination to go wild. I mean, how many aliens are in the core set?
There's 50 in the core box.
So like that's 50 different ways of playing.
Yeah.
And how many in the expansions?
At least 20.
And how many expansions?
There's at least 5.
So that's 150 different ways, different
Yeah,
factions
basically.
of playing it.
Yeah, and even on the back of the box it says no two games are the same, so I totally agree with that.
Yeah,
It's totally unique every time, really.
I'd believe it, but yeah, the sci-fi thing would kind of give it because there's God knows what's out there. So yeah, it is a great kind of variety for that.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
So you feel like a crazy alien when you play the game.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Dune covers its theme very well, actually.
I
It
agree.
surprised me how well it covered it, and this is one of the reasons we chose this game for our competition. There'll be more details about that at the end of the video, but based on the novel, you play different factions. Like there's different factions in the novel, and you play the same factions here, and it's similar enough to Cosmic Encounter that the factions play a different way, but they play according to the style of the faction in the book. So, for example, the Harkonnen are the bad guys. They're very evil. They differentiate from the other players that they earn most of their money, or in this game, the currency is spice, by killing other players. There's another faction called the Fremen,
Yeah.
which they don't have as much opportunities to kind of earn or get spice off other people, but they're more mobile and have less kind of outgoing, so they can harvest spice.
They're also, natives on the planet, so they don't have to pay the spacing guild to be
to
down anywhere,
ship down.
and that fits the team perfectly. It's awesome.
Like the Emperor is a faction in this, and the Emperor, of course, is way over there. So the Emperor, of course, is cash rich, so he can pour resources into the planet, but he's no present on it.
He's rich because the other players have to pay him during the game, and I think that's brilliant.
It's brilliant, yeah, absolutely, because other factions take a cut. So the fact that you're paying other players to use powers for basic functions in the game gives a great sense of theme of the politics of it.
Great.
The playstyle, I won't say it's forced on you, but certainly encouraged on you by the variable faction powers, makes you feel like you're playing the faction.
Yeah, it's great.
So it's superb. And it's robust enough that obviously the story in the novel goes one way, or the story in the novels go one way, and obviously the board game can go the other, but you don't feel like you're betraying the faction if you make an alliance.
Yeah, there could be like a what-if scenario,
Exactly.
if you want.
And I just think it's superb. I've had no problem with the evil Harkonnen teaming up with the noble Atreides to win the game because they control 2 strongholds each, if you know what I mean. It's cutthroat diplomacy, and it's done really well. And I have to say, if you're a fan of the novels, you will be a big fan of this game. So the next question I want to pose is playability. This is a game for 2 to 6 players. It lasts 120 minutes at least.
Okay, yeah, at the very least, yes.
And that's a game for...
There's 3 to 5, and it lasts 1 to 2 hours. And I would say that's fairly conservative, yeah.
And with expansions, it goes up to what, 8 players or something?
Yeah, you can go up to 8 players with expansions. I've never tried it.
Well, out of the 2 of them, which would you think? Would you consider either of these a gateway game? Like, would Cosmic Encounter be a gateway game?
No, I don't think so. I think Cosmic Encounter is deceptive. It's deceptively complicated because the rules are very straightforward, right? But the very basic nature of the game is that there are many exceptions to the rule.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's 50 different aliens. They all break the rules in very different ways. So as a new player, I'd say that would be quite, intimidating a little bit. So I think it's a special game in the fact that it's like a gamer's party game, if you know what I mean. A party game for gamers, in that it's light enough, it's easy to play, it's quick playing, but there are a lot of little crunchy rules in it that you can get your head into. And that's nice. I love that part. I love that way of the game, but some people mightn't.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because if you just started with the core aliens, Would it be
you
an
can
easy
play
game
with,
to teach?
Yeah, you can play with the very basic aliens, and it'd be very straightforward. You'd be missing out on most of what the game had to offer, though. For instance,
Yeah. Like there's
but I did enjoy it when I was playing intro games with people, with the very basic aliens, and
but that's it. Like once you become an expert of the game, there's still a lot more in it
there's a
because
lot more to discover, really, which is what I love about it.
I mean, one that's just popping to my mind is the alien that cheats.
Oh yeah, the filch. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's a special power he can get, which means he can cheat, and he literally can just take cards if people aren't looking and get away with it. And if he's caught, even the deck gets put closer to him, so he can get away with it easier.
So I mean, like if you try to explain that rule to a person who's playing for the first time,
or God forbid, you play that rule and you don't tell that person in the game.
yeah, they'd be kind of what is going
What's
on
going
here?
on here? Yeah, no.
Dune is the same. I wouldn't call it a gateway game either,
No,
but
no.
it surprised me how quick it was to get started on it.
Yeah. The phases, the rules, they're pretty straightforward, really.
Everything's done on a step-by-step basis, and the mechanics, the mechanisms of the game are actually simple and straightforward.
Yeah.
It's the factions that change it up drastically. Like the game is fairly simple enough rules, but like you coined it, there's an exception to every rule. So every faction player has a power that either bends the rule a little or breaks the rule a little, and that's hard to deal with at the start. But once you get used to it, it becomes amazing.
Yes.
It becomes even more amazing because, say, my faction can bend the rules one way, but if I make an alliance with another faction that can bend the rules another way, you can become an unstoppable team in the game. It's brilliant, and it's a game that I can see why it lasted for 40 years.
Oh yeah, both games.
Yeah,
they both lasted for over 40 years, and they're fan favorites. They've been fan favorites for a very long time
because
for good reason.
It's the combination of the factions and the variety of combinations that makes this game very good. And in that thing, Cosmic Encounter, I'd say the combination of factions that you have in that are endless.
Possibly, yeah.
I
don't really know, but there's so many of them.
Like if you just randomly draw the cards, you'd have a different game.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, I mean, on the back of the box it says no two games are the same, and I totally agree with that. There's very few games I would agree with, but definitely for Cosmic Encounters. So, Sean, you've talked about the factions in Dune. How about I talk about some of the craziest aliens I've seen in Cosmic Encounter so far?
Okay.
So, starting off, we have a very relevant alien, the virus.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So, the way the game is played, right? You have your ships, and then you play an encounter card, which has a number, and that adds to your ships. Normally, the virus will multiply that card by your ships.
So it multiplies the ships and the encounter card, or just the encounter card?
No, the ships get multiplied by your encounter card instead of just being added to it.
So if you play 4 ships, it's 4 times...
4 times 10 is 40.
That's insane.
Yeah, he's extremely strong. He's like the big boss of the encounter. So he will take over the game. It's like basically everyone will have to ally against him.
Basically. He's not cone-shaped, is he?
No.
Because is it defense washing your hands or anything like that?
Unfortunately not. So that's a bit mad, right? But speaking of mad, right? The next guy up is the masochist.
Okay.
Yeah. So
he'll go well with the virus, yeah.
Yeah. So he has the power to hurt himself. And so basically, the way you win is normally you get 5 colonies.
All right.
In this one, you win if all of your ships are destroyed. So if all of your ships are gone, you win. So it really changes up the combat.
So everyone will leap to this guy's defense, basically.
Yeah, you have to defend him. But the thing is, he might not ask for any defense. He'll just kamikaze in and by himself.
So that's he'd love to play with the virus. So he'll actually override the victory conditions of other players.
He has his own win condition, and there are many different aliens with different win conditions. So
okay,
which is awesome. So next up is the machine. He has the power of continuity. Basically, he can take unlimited turns, unlimited encounters.
What?
As long as he has cards in his hand, he can keep going one after the other.
So you can hog the game.
Yeah, people don't like the alien for that reason.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's
As long as he has cards, he can keep going. Yeah,
he's not shaped like the
it's
Terminator or anything. Is
very no. So next up, right? I see you're complaining about that. Next up, we have the Sniveler.
Okay.
He has the power to whine.
Okay.
So basically,
That's a
whenever he's behind, he can he says he can whine about it, and everybody has to either give him something or lose something. So that's very.
So basically, complaining, is it?
He complains, and everybody lets him catch up, or everybody else has to just kind of fall down a bit.
So it's literally the embodiment of some gamers I know.
Exactly. I know. Very, very close to the virus, we have the disease.
Okay.
And he spreads his disease across like a pandemic kind of thing. So if you're on a system of somebody with your ships, you can spread from planet to planet.
I
so
see.
You can rack up your colonies in that way.
Is he cone-shaped?
Nope.
Okay.
So the next up we have...
Tony, just make sure you wash your hands after the cards.
Oh yeah. He looks like a very nerdly type of
Nerdly.
guy.
Oh,
yeah.
Lovely.
So the next up, you're talking about win conditions. The next guy is Ace. So he wins. 5 colonies.
Yeah.
He wins if he has 1 colony.
For God's sake.
Yeah. So again, everybody has to go up against him. Everybody is him versus the game.
But that's great fun because if you announce it at the start, obviously.
Oh yeah.
It varies the games incredibly.
Yeah. It's fantastic. So everybody has a chance to kick him off a planet.
Okay.
It's gas. So one of the more crazier aliens I've ever seen is the Bride.
The Bride,
which has the power to marry. Yeah, you can marry your opponent, and then, so basically they can force their way into every single thing you do.
Okay.
And ally with you forcibly without even being asked. So the way it is, like.
Yeah.
And
okay.
then they can divorce their spouse.
Okay.
By taking alimony, which means you take half their cards. So there's no prenuptial card in this, but there really should be.
So if any of your friends are recently divorced, they can play that one, and
it's fantastic. Yeah, they can divorce everybody on the table.
Okay.
So there's the diplomat.
Okay.
So usually when 2 players play and negotiate cards, there's a deal between the 2 players. They can share something. The diplomat kind of just says, "No, there's a 3-way deal, and I'm in the deal."
What?
Suddenly, like whenever that happens, yeah, the diplomat can just like shove his way into the encounter and be like, "Now you're dealing with me as well." So
he just takes a cut.
Yeah, he's part of the deal. Everybody has to deal with him as well. 3-way deal.
He sure is a diplomat. He sounds like a taxman.
I don't know what he is. And last but not least, then it's the tourist.
Okay.
Basically, the tourist gets a special ship that goes around each player's system, and they can drop off their own ships, and they can send postcards back, which means they take a card from the player and send back to themselves. So yeah, they have the power to sightsee. So they go around to each of the different planets, and they drop off their planets. They drop off their ships, and it's very cool.
And rob a hand from your deck and send it back as a postcard. That is genius.
Postcard sent back. Yeah, that's it.
But that's brilliant. I mean, even with those aliens, you can just tell how much fun that game is.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't take itself seriously. Like.
Oh, no, it's so lighthearted and fun, yeah. There's a lot of references in it, and it's a great time.
So the next question, I suppose it's a benign one actually, a nice question, is favorite moments. Now, a standout favorite moment for me for Cosmic Encounter was, because you were talking about the factions.
Yeah.
I think it's the Greenhorn.
Yeah, the alien who doesn't know how to play the game.
Yeah.
Power of ignorance.
There's 2 friends of ours that play with us regularly, Jack and Darren, and Jack was the Greenhorn, the alien with the power of ignorance, and you can ask another player basically to show them that you have the card in your hand, that you can basically break the rules and say, what does this card mean?
Yeah.
and Jack just did it to wreck Darren's head. Over the course of the entire game, he'd held up the same card and asked him at the most inopportune times, "What does this card mean?"
That's funny.
It was just funny. I mean, Darren was fit to kill him at the end.
Oh yeah, and then he started doing it to me.
Yeah, well.
Oh, but then funny enough, he actually had a card that he actually genuinely himself didn't know what it meant, and he was like, "Actually, I'm going to use my power. Can you actually tell me what this means?" And that's actually pretty good, actually.
But it leads to great banter, especially if you're playing with people who are up for the fun of it,
Yeah.
But just Jack was in his element at that time.
It was perfect. Yeah.
In terms of Dune,
Yeah. So I have a favorite moment of Dune. Actually, it's when myself and Darren, he was the Bene Gesserit, right? So we had an ally, an alliance, and so the power of the Bene Gesserit, as well as the voice, is to. So whenever somebody ships down to the planet, they can bring down a single advisor, like a peaceful advisor, onto the planet with them.
Yeah.
And so they just hang out, peaceful, don't take part in combat, and so people were dropping down everywhere, and Darren was going around with them, and it turned out that Rob and Jack had a fight in a stronghold, and they ended up wiping each other out by mistake, and Darren's Bene Gesserit was just left there by himself. So he was just suddenly, there was nobody else in the stronghold, and he was like, okay, I guess I have this stronghold now. And then like the next turn, myself and Darren won because of that.
Yeah, I remember that actually. It was quite funny, just the whole idea. There's a carnage of corpses and one blue nun in the middle.
Blue nun just appears like,
this is the flag.
This is my stronghold now, yeah. That's fantastic.
That is, there's lots of funny little variable moments in it, like, because of that,
Yeah, fantastic.
But I love it in Dune when a piece of spice pops up in the middle and everyone can get to it, because you're all kind of looking at each other like, who's going to go for this,
It's like a sudden race to the spice, exactly.
Well, in terms of favourite moments as well, I think there's always a potential for great favourite moments for them because there's great playability in them. But the next question now is not a benign one. Is if, say, the house went on fire, or actually if you're on a kind of a spice harvester, and a sandworm came along to kind of eat the harvester, and your board game collection just happened to be in there.
Okay, and there's no ornithopter to help you.
Well, Paul Atreides is coming in with the ornithopter, and they're about to rescue you, or his father's about to rescue you. You can only grab one game. There's a weight limit on the wench. Okay. Which game do you bring?
Well, that's a hard question, Sean. For me, anyway, because I love both these games so much, right? But for me, at the end of the day, I will probably have to go with Cosmic Encounter. It's such a unique game. Like, I don't think there's any other game with many different unique powers in the game, and it's so much fun. It's easy to play. There's replayability in it. You can make alliances here and there. It's not too long. It doesn't take too long. You can have multiple games in a night, and everyone, as it says on the back of the box, no two games are the same. And I love that about games. I love discovering something new every time I play the game, and it's definitely the case for Cosmic Encounter. So I have to go with this.
No, that's fair enough. I totally get where you're coming from. I like Cosmic Encounter for those reasons.
Yeah.
But sometimes some of the aliens are a bit too silly.
Right.
I mean, I love a heavy strategic element, and like that game I was talking about where Jack was wrecking Darren's head.
Yeah,
as funny as it was,
there's a time and a place.
Yeah, there's a time and place, and as funny as that was, it didn't kind of scratch the heavy strategic itch I wanted.
Yeah, of course.
But Dune, every single game I played, it's varied completely, especially with the players, and I don't know, I'm addicted to it. I absolutely love it. It is great. It sticks with the themes in the novels. It sticks with the variable faction powers give a great kind of vibrancy and a live feel to the game. It doesn't feel mechanical. You're not doing this bit, this bit, this bit, and this bit. There's great... Players are very empowered in this to change the rules. So, I mean, I can affect the outcome of a battle by saying, okay, I will give you spice to reinforce if you get this guy off my back, or
like you can wheel and deal in it.
Exactly, and it changes things up. You can even kind of like there's two parts where you can formally formally ally with each other.
Oh yeah, the Nexus.
Yeah, the Nexus. When that card appears, you create alliances, and when the card appears, you break alliances. But even up to that point, like when it comes to the bidding of the cards, the variable player powers, it's just straightforward, simple mechanics, but the players can really bend the rules, and I love it. Especially in a strategy game, you can really bend the rules,
Fantastic.
and I love it.
And everyone is at any turn of the game, everyone is invested, and in both of these games, really, because there's alliances and everyone is involved.
But like even if you take a knock in this game, you can still kind of have an impact on the playfield.
Well, yeah, you claw your way back.
Well, like you know, in Twilight Imperium 4th Edition, you spend hours building up your army, and if it gets trounced, you'll probably never come back. With this one, you'll be back in 3 or 4 rounds. It's still a hit, but you can still have an impact.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if the Alliance or the Nexus card comes up, you still have Alliance powers to barter with. So you're never knocked out of the count with this game. So to wrap up, I just want to remind our viewers that we have a competition for a sealed copy of Dune, the board game. The competition closes on
the 19th of March, 2020.
So if you hit the magic subscribe button before that date, you'll be in with a chance to win this very copy of the game. If you're already subscribed, happy days, you're already in the competition. So until next time, this is Sean.
I'm Tony.
Good luck and God bless.
See ya.